with 2 decades of legal experience up her sleeve, there isn't a question that divorce lawyer Tracy Maloney hasn't been asked before.
And with a newfound online fan base, the legal queen has gone viral on TikTok.
Hey, Mum.
Yes.
Why do family courts favour the mother?
So they don't favour the mother, they favour the children. All parents will have the same rights and responsibilities towards that child. Not if your ex has given permission for their partner to collect the children. So mom's going to have dad's consent to be able to change the child's name. Make sure that you're keeping all your finances separate. Don't mingle finances. Don't have or try to avoid having, let's say, joint bank accounts.
It's absolutely brilliant, Tracy, what you do.
you.
But what is the biggest mistake you can make during a divorce? Well, armed with the advice that you would usually pay hundreds for, divorce lawyer Tracy Maloney joins us now this morning. Good morning to you. And I think that's what you do so brilliantly, is you just break everything down and stop that whole kind of lawyer jargon happening.
I think it really helps. It really helps. It's really daunting out there, particularly if you can't afford a solicitor.
Yeah.
So if you can understand the law in bite-sized chunks and use what applies to you, it can only be a good thing.
Well, because so many people are getting divorced now, what is the divorce rate and what's kind of pushing it through the ceiling?
It fluctuates.
Yeah.
Typically, it will be 1 in 3, but 2020 we saw a rise, almost 45%, because obviously of COVID, people living together, not being able to get out. But typically, it will be 1 in 3 marriages that end in divorce. Sadly.
And am I right in saying that sort of there's lots of older people now getting divorced, whereas before they would have stayed together?
I think we're seeing that marriages that were maybe late 80s, early 90s, they're now coming through and getting the divorces. And I think there's lots of reasons for that. We're living longer, for a start. Divorce doesn't have that stigma that it used to have. Women are more financially independent, so there's a freedom there to say, actually, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. But, yeah, it's the silver splitters, as we call them.
The silver splitters.
And what age are they, really?
Probably a 35 to a 40-year-old marriage, so late 50s, early 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are the first pieces of advice or the first questions that you ask somebody if they come to you or pick up the phone?
First question I will always say is it irretrievable?
Right.
Is there no prospect of reconciliation? And then the second thing is you really should be getting some legal advice. You know, even if you can't afford a solicitor, you really do need to get some advice.
Because there will be occasions, I'm sure, Tracy, that you are approached and you help couples that have maybe done something a little bit out there and gone to Vegas and got married and sort of had a little bit of sort of too much to drink and just gone, let's go wild and do it, and then think, oh, goodness me, what have you done?
Absolutely. I had a young lady call me. She'd married her best friends on a drunken weekend in one of her best friend, obviously, in a drunken weekend in Vegas. And she gave me a call and said, can you sort this out? They've been married 10 days.
10 days?
No, you've got to be married at least a year before we can get you a divorce.
So even if you go to Vegas on a whim and you go, well, that was a bad idea, you've got to stay together for a year?
Well, it depends on the circumstances. We could look to get the marriage annulled, absolutely. But typically, by the time they realise what's happened and maybe, you know, they've given us a call or they think, oh, we'll just ignore it, we're not really married, they have to stay together for the year.
I think lots of people are very intimidated by the law as well, and the fact that it changes all the time too. So you think you know it, and then it changed, because there was a big change recently, wasn't there?
There was. In 2022, the divorce system changed from being a blame system to a no-fault system. So before, we'd have to rely on adultery, unreasonable behaviour, 2 years separation. Now we don't. As of 2022, now it's just that the marriage has irretrievably broken down and that's it.
But that has, I'd imagine, made it easier for people to get divorced as well. That had an impact on numbers?
Absolutely. I don't think we've seen a huge increase in the amount of divorces, but it's made it easier in terms of the process, for sure. They can do it themselves.
What about, you know, people coming out of the pandemic and divorce rates rising and people don't have as much money as they did? Can they do a kind of DIY divorce, or can they do it online? How would you do that?
So the divorce, you can certainly do it yourself. You go onto the government website, just type in divorce petition or D8. The government will give you some handy notes and you just follow the notes. It's all done online. The court will even email your ex the divorce petition. So you can definitely do it yourself. What I do say to people, though, not only through social media, but you've got to get your financial order. The financial order is the document that will sever those financial ties that were created when you got married. Right. The divorce won't do that on its own. So do the divorce yourself, but make sure you get your financial order.
And what do you mean by financial order?
So who's getting the house?
Right.
Who's getting the pension? The savings in the bank, how are we splitting that? 50-50, 60-40, that sort of thing. We have to record all of that. And if we've got nothing to divide, we just do a clean break. But it's really important. If you don't get that financial order, your ex can come back at a later date and make a financial claim against you, even when you're divorced.
I mean, when you talk about it like that, you can see how complicated it is and how important it is to get some legal advice. And I think you say the biggest mistake people can make is not getting some advice early doors.
Yeah, get it early doors. I'm not saying that you have to instruct a solicitor. Even if you get a one-off advice, get it early doors so that you're clear about your case, so that you know what you're entitled to.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to say because it's very kind of case-specific, I suppose.
Yeah.
But what would be your kind of piece of advice to somebody out there, like if they were starting a divorce? What are the things that everybody needs to do in some way, shape or form?
So following that one-off advice, then you're going to be really clear about your case. Then look at alternative ways to remedy. We don't have to go to court. We can use mediation. We can use alternative dispute resolution. So consider that. If you do go to court, fill out the right forms and just be really clear. Don't bring the emotion into it. A lot of people, because understandably they're doing it themselves, they'll go to court and they're very emotive. Try to remain objective as you can.
That you mentioned that one-off sort of piece of advice. How much would people have to pay for that necessarily?
Yeah, depends where you are in the country. Obviously, London is more expensive than, say, Manchester. But you're looking at anywhere between £175 to £300, you know, just for that one-off advice.
And I guess that there are certain questions you get asked quite a lot when people come in and they want to start divorce proceedings. What would be those questions?
I think the two most common is the finances. Will I get to stay in the house? Do I have to pay maintenance, spousal maintenance? And the second most popular would be the children. What's going to happen with the children? Can they stay living with me? Are we going to do a 50-50 split with the children? Shared care, we call it. They'd be the two main ones.
It's interesting because we had a lady on, the author of the book Co-Parenting, Marcy, and she was saying you have to think about it like in 20 years' time, if you're sitting in a cafe with your children and you're going through pictures of their childhood, what do you want that to be? And you say the same thing, like, think of the future.
Absolutely. Because children, as we all know, love their parents unconditionally. So regardless of the dispute that you two are having, you are still mum and dad.
Yeah.
That's really important.
And the divorce is for the future, not for the present.
Absolutely.
And it's very easy, isn't it, to get caught up in the minutiae and the frustration and your anger at your partner that you're trying to separate from. But actually, this is about that moment in the cafe in a few years' time. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.